Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin, and welcome to Live to Be Well. Just want to thank each of you for joining me tonight and looking forward to a wonderful broadcast with my daughter, Micha, ML6, and each and every one of you. My heart is heavy tonight, and we're going to talk about it because we have lost another individual, a young person in our society, in our community. We're going to talk about that. But again, I want to thank you for joining me tonight and my daughter, ML6. I pray that your families are well and that you are holding close to them, especially your children. Hold them close to you, love them, be able to accept them. Tonight, we're talking about the impact of suicide. It's being talked about throughout the media, our communities. It is all over television, and we want to bring it to you tonight. We want to bring topics that are prevalent, that's in the forefront, and that's making a difference. And we want to give you hope and healing through that. At this time, I want to bring my daughter, Micha, ML6, on the line. Hi, baby. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to say how much I love you.
I
I
love.
appreciate you. I know you do. You know, you're a wonderful, wonderful daughter. And I never ever want you to feel that you cannot come to me and talk to me and be a support to you. I think it's important that our children know that we're not going to judge them. We're going to listen. We need to be able to listen to our children no matter what. Micah, tell us what's going on in the news and the impact it's had in our communities.
Well, for those of you who have been living under a rock, on Friday it was announced that Regina King's only child, her son Ian Alexander Jr., 26 years old, he just had a birthday on Wednesday. It's been kind of conflicting stories on whether or not they found him on his birthday or what. But whatever the case is, a mother lost her son, her only child, her air, her breath. She said many, many times how he was the source of everything that she did. She made no apologies for loving her son out loud.
Mhm.
And so the African American community and even others have rallied around her, but especially the African American community, even within her actor circle. Yesterday, Vivica A. Fox did she was on her show, Fox Soul, and she spoke about how Regina reached out to her and asked her to come to the house. And Vivica said on her way there, she was, hey, what do you, oh no, I don't know.
We can hear you. Okay. ML6 will be right back. Something's going on, technical issues. But she was talking about Vivica Fox. Regina King reached out to her, and Vivica Fox went to visit her. You know, we need to rally around people. We need to be a support to people. We need to, again, embrace our children, love our children, support our children, and those in our families, our siblings, our parents. It's not just older adult people who are committing suicide. I mean, young people committing suicide, all ages. Okay,
Sorry,
that's
a
okay. All right,
work, a work call, it interrupted. I apologize.
that's all.
But what I was saying was that Vivica A. Fox was saying how on her way there, she didn't know what to say. Like, what do you say to your friend whose son not only just died, but committed suicide? And when she got there, she was said she felt so overwhelmed that there were so many people there to love on Regina King. And that she left knowing that she's okay, but she's not okay, but she's okay because she has people around her. And she wanted us to know. She sent a message through Vivica A. Fox that this is hard, this is difficult, but she's going to be okay. And another actor just today lost his son to suicide, age 26. It was just released moments ago. So a lot of heaviness, a lot of, I've said this before, this generation of people, especially between the ages of 18 to 30, they're dealing with a different weight. They're carrying different things. They have so much access to things. They have so much access to get ridiculed for everything they do. They don't feel understood. They don't feel like they communicate. A lot of times they go to social media. Some of Ian's last tweets were indicators that something was wrong. Oftentimes people see tweets and they're just like, oh, that person's just talking, or maybe they're just quoting lyrics, or, you know, whatever the case is. And it's like, yo, if you get an inclination that is more than that, reach out. Parents, I know sometimes it's difficult to reach your children and they may not talk to you. Like that's across the board. Like parents, you're not going to know everything about your child. And a lot of that is because they feel like there is a judgment attached to if they do open up completely. And so they hold things and they keep things, and they don't want to disappoint, or they don't want to even feel like having the conversation because they just feel like it's just going to be an ongoing thing. Or if I mention this one time, that they're going to bombard me with it every single time we talk. And it could just be one of those things. There's just so many different dynamics. But more than anything, I don't think that Regina King didn't love her son. I don't think that she wasn't involved in his life. I think that, you know, there were just some things she just wasn't aware of. And it happens. No one is at fault. It happens. You can scream psychology.com today, all day, every day. Seek help, seek help, seek help. Some people don't even have the willpower to seek help. They don't know how to seek help. They don't know what help looks like. Like they don't feel that they're worthy enough for the help. I had a friend who was just recently, well, last year was at a dinner that was catered, and come to find out, Ian had a catering business, and he didn't want anybody to know whose child he was, even though he was catering the event amongst his mother's friends. And it wasn't until one of his mother's friends was like, wait, Ian, that's you? I'm about to call your mama. But he handled himself with such excellence, and he just wanted to be appreciated for who he was. And of course, you know, from my understanding, you know, Regina was proud, this, that, and the third, that her son was doing a thing. And so, you know, those type of things. But as a child who has held things, who has kept things from my parents, who has felt like, you know, I know how to I will navigate through something on my own before I will reach out and ask for help, whether it's learned behavior, whether it's something that I felt that I had to do, whether I felt like, yo, my parents are probably doing way too much and they got too much going on to deal with whatever I have going on, or I'm not in a space that I fully understand what's going on with me, so I'm not about to share it, or I just don't want to talk about it. Whatever the case is, it's okay for your children to not talk about it, but give them the clearance to say, hey, something is going on with me. I just don't know how to put it in words yet. At least let them know that that it's comfortable and a safe place and space to say those things. And as parents, because parents have suicidal thoughts and things like that, like it's not just children, it's parents, it's adults as well. You have to figure out who your safe place is, what your safe place is. You have to figure out as a parent, like, it's a lot to say, I live for my children. Okay, well, you have to figure out, what are you living for you?
Right.
You have to live for you. Because if something were to happen, God forbid, to me or Aaron, mommy would have to live for her. It will break her heart daily. But she would have to find purpose somehow, some way, even in the midst of the grief.
Yes, definitely. You know, valid points, good points. At this time, good evening, Bobby Lee Andrews, down there in Tennessee. Good evening. Hi, Thomas Maycott. Good to see you on tonight. Welcome to Live Be Well. We're talking about the impact of suicide, and ML6 just gave a powerful statements about what we need to do, and we need to address these issues very, very seriously. Let's go to some of our comments. Thank you for your comments on the impact of suicide. We're going to read some of those comments. We're going to bring those comments up and read your comments this evening, and how the impact of suicide impacts you and your comments. All right, here we go. What are the major causes of suicide and how can it be prevented? Philip Mosley stated fear. He stated fear. Eric Moore, hopelessness. If it's major depression, have to receive proper health care and therapy. Thomas Maycock stated, talking to God and sometimes playing some good old school music. Talitha, feeling hopelessness, loneliness, and the feelings there's no one to care or will miss their absence. That's a good point. Diane Earl, feeling trapped, hopeless about a situation with no option to move forward, feeling of embarrassment as a result of bullying. Prevention, link the person with mental health counseling. Stay connected with the person even if they reject connection. That's a good point, Dr. Earl, because we have to not only recognize, but when we see it, we've got to do something about it. Jeanette Jackson, I think it's loneliness, feeling as if there's no one who understands. This happens even when surrounded by many people. And Clayton Leon, rejection on social media. Micha, you just brought that out. All right, I want to talk about cause, prevention, symptoms, and recognition, and what do we need to do? First of all, let's give the definition of suicide. It is sometimes a way for people to escape pain or suffering. It is a way to escape pain or suffering, the act or instance of taking one's own life voluntarily and intentionally. So this person has made up their mind, to take their own life without any force from anyone else. Now, in the United States, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death for all ages. It is the 10th leading cause of death for all ages and the second leading cause of death for youth and young adults between the ages of 10 and 34. So ML6, you were right on it. Now, this comes from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And they say a person dies of suicide every 11 minutes. That is something to think about. Every 11 minutes, someone is taking their lives. All right. Now, let's look at some of the things that causes suicide. Suicide remains one of the leading causes of death worldwide. Now, when you look at some of the things that say, well, what's going on that I even want to think about taking my life? What are some of the behaviors? What are some of the patterns? What is going on with my child? Why did they do this? Well, let's look at mental illness. All right. And rejection, loneliness, not being accepted. I had a young man that walked in my office, 14, posted on social media, Micha, that he said, I'm bisexual. His mother said, why would you do that on social media? He said, because I couldn't hold it anymore. And I knew you wouldn't accept it. And then I had an 11-year-old little boy said, I'm gay. The father says, you don't even know what gay means. He says, I like boys. I don't like girls. 11 years old. So, and then another young man who is, his grandfather is very prominent in one of the churches, denominations. He came out on social media that he is gay and he is just, his family is furious. And so it's like, if you can't accept me, then I might as well not be here. So mental illness, most people make the decision to attempt suicide shortly before doing it so impulsively rather than planning it out extensively. While there are many factors that can influence a person's decision to commit suicide, the most common one is severe depression. Depression can make people feel great emotional pain and loss of hope. Severe depression, making them unable to see another way to relieve the pain other than ending their own life. And usually they don't want to be a burden, Micha, to anyone else. They feel that they are an extreme burden. I can't get a job. I can't get off drugs. I continue to gamble. I have several addictions. I have eating disorders. I'm overweight. Everybody teases me. And they call this little boy, they call him Twinkle Toes. And he's constantly picked on at school because he is feminine. So, other mental illnesses that can cause or can increase the risk of suicide: bipolar disorder, borderline personality, eating disorder, and schizophrenia. The other day I was watching the program My 600 Life, My Pound Life, and I just was skipping through it on my phone. And each person that they interviewed is dealing with major depression. Suicide ideation did not come up, but if I don't get this weight off me, I could die.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a person who's had a traumatic experience such as molestation, rape, abandonment, a child that goes through divorce, a child that's abused, bullied, including childhood sexual abuse, rape, physical abuse, or war trauma, is a great risk for suicide, even many years after the trauma. So we have a lot of veterans, Micha, who don't have anywhere to go. We see them on the streets of LA, Detroit, homeless. And they are at a point, do I just take my life? In a survey of nearly 6,000 US adults, nearly 22% of people who have been raped had attempted suicide at some point, while 23% who experienced physical assaults tried to take their own life at some point. Being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder or multiple incidents of trauma raises the risk even further. This is partly because depression is common after trauma, and among those with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, causing feelings of helplessness and hopelessness that can lead to suicide. People are feeling lost in America and throughout the world. They are feeling completely hopeless, and I don't know where to turn. So with that in mind, let's talk about drugs and alcohol can also, good evening, Foxy Brown, good evening. Drug and alcohol can also influence a person who is feeling suicidal, making them more impulsive and likely to act upon their urges than they would be while sober. Substance and alcohol use can contribute to other reasons people commit suicide, such as the loss of jobs and relationships. The rates of substance use and alcohol use disorders are also higher among people with depression and other psychological disorder. Remember ML6, when COVID hit, they had more sales in alcohol than anything else because people were coping with depression, being confined to their homes. So they drank to cope with their isolation, their depression, their loss of jobs, loss of wages, decrease of wages. What do we do? But, and then they put themselves at risk. The loss of fear of loss. Now, this is something. Now, let's go back to what you were talking about, academic failure. You know how much pressure is put on young people to excel in high school and college. And when they feel that they have failed in getting a B, I can't come back from this. I've known stories of students who've taken their lives over a 3.5 GPA, and they normally have a 4.5. All right. Good evening, Camille. Being arrested or imprisoned, bullying, shame, or humiliation, including cyberbullying, financial problems, end of a close relationship or romantic relationship, job loss, loss of friends or family acceptance due to revealing your sexual orientation, okay? Loss of social status, hopelessness, either in the short term or as a long-lasting trait, has been found in many studies and to contribute to the decision to commit suicide. The person may be facing a social or physical challenge and may see no way the situation can improve. When people feel they have lost all hope and don't feel able to change that, it can overshadow all the good things in their life. making suicide seem like a valuable or viable option. Suicide is the only option. So the last point before I bring you back in, while it might seem obvious to an outside observer, then things will get better. People with depression may not be able to see this due to the pessimism and despair that go along with their illnesses. So people are suffering, Micha, with asthma, back pain, brain injury, cancer, congestive heart failure, diabetes, epilepsy, HIV, AIDS, heart disease, high blood pressure, migraines, Parkinson's disease. Let's go back to Robin Williams and his disease, and he took his own life. So this is real chronic disease. Good evening, Dr. Logan. I'm listening to your conversation on suicide. Hey, Mr. Angelo Lewis, welcome to Live to Be Well. So people with chronic pain can also bring on anxiety and depression, which can also increase your risk of suicide. According to research, people with chronic pains are 4 times more likely to have depression or anxiety than those who are pain-free. Come on back in, ML6. So let's talk about, again, the pressures. Can I go home for a minute? Can I go home personal? I remember the pressure that I put on Aaron. And I came down to Huntsville. And you had told me many times, Mommy, Aaron needs a gap year. Mommy, and Aaron had even asked for a gap year. I'm being very transparent right now. As a parent who almost lost her child to suicide. I came home. I was down at Alumni Weekend 2018. I came home to my daughter's home, and I couldn't find Erin. I thought she was on campus taking an exam. And I went into the closet to get a hanger. For some reason, the Holy Spirit told me to go to the closet. I couldn't open the closet door. And I pushed and pushed and pushed. And lo and behold, my daughter was in there with a cover under her, a blanket. And Micha said, do you see? Do you see? She cannot do this right now. And all I was focusing on was, my daughter's at Oakwood. Let's get you through your freshman year. Let's get through these years. Come on. We've all been through something very tragic. Now, she had just lost her father a year and a half before, and I'm just pushing my child, let's do this. Let's get, and masking. She was masking. I was masking so that we could just keep things moving because, I couldn't let people know that Dr. Kim, child could not function. What would that look like for me? That my own child was hurting so bad. But yet, I'm not seeing the signs. Micha saw the signs because I was in Detroit. Micha was telling me, but I was still in denial about the signs. But Micha saw the depression. She saw the different change in behavior. She saw certain things and she alerted me, but still, not until I saw my child sitting on that floor. And I'm telling you something, Thomas, it was devastating for me to see that. And I said, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? And I had to pull my baby out of school, pull her out of school for a year. And even to the point of helping her with counseling, helping her to find help and navigating her and Micha to a new state. Sometimes you got to change the environment that you're in. People go through seasonal depression, Micha, where they need to relocate to a new city or state. And my child needed a new environment. She wanted to go to a school where they had her major, where she could be happy, she could thrive. And I said, where would that be? And she said, Los Angeles, California. I was like, oh, wait, no. I'm not sending my baby on the West Coast. That's so far from me. I said, I can't do that. But then Micha kept reminding me, Mom, this is not about you. This is about Aaron. And praise God that Micha said, Mom, I will go in your place. And it's something that Erin has been with Micha over 8-9 years and been with Micha since she was like 7 or 8 years old, going to visit her because I wanted my children close. You know, I wanted them to know each other because it was 18 and a half years age gap. But Micha saw the pain. Micha saw the signs, but I chose to ignore them because I did not want people or it to impact my ministry, to impact who I was. You're fine. You'll be okay. You know, don't tell me I'll be okay. And I knew I wasn't okay because I lost my husband and the pain that I was dealing with every day, being by myself, being alone, you know, and pushing people away because I did not want to cope with the pain. You know, let me do it by myself. Did I think about suicide? Let me tell you all something. And Mike, let me know how you feel about this. Do Christians commit suicide?
Yes.
Every day. Do people commit suicide that love God, Micah?
Every day.
Every day. Do people commit suicide who study the word of God?
Yes.
Yes.
Like if it wasn't, that's why pastors who like it hasn't happened like in the last maybe 3 to 6 months, but probably there was a pastor that I know of, was a white pastor. He had just went to his soccer game with his children and they had a family event, and that night he killed himself. Mind you, this was a pastor who preached suicide, loving yourself, all of that, but internally he was going through. Because oftentimes with ministers and people in those type of positions, they have there's this idea that they can't be human. There's this idea that they can't live regular lives or make mistakes because of their position. They're not allotted that. So they have this pressure of being perfect. And it's a heavy weight. And people are like, well, they made the choice to do it. True enough. However, they're not Jesus. They're not God. They're vessels. And vessels are flawed. And for whatever reason, congregations, society can't allow vessels to be flawed. They breathe air, they bleed, they go to the bathroom, they get hungry, they do all of these things. Like, but they're not allowed that. So that's when there was a stream of pastors that were literally killing themselves. And there was a statistic going around of reasons why pastors kill themselves and the heaviness that they deal with, that oftentimes congregations don't even realize, because you're just coming to church, feed me, give me, do this, pastor, pastor, you need to go here, I need you to do that, la 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 la. And it's like, y'all on the inside, they really could be going through something heavy. I make it a point, all of my homeboys and my cousin Austin, I make it a point to check in with them, to ask them very important questions. How is your soul? How is your mental health? What are you doing for yourself?
Me time.
What are you doing for yourself away from the church? Have you gotten with your boys? Have you just had some time to just be you? Not pastor such and such. Just be you. When is the last time you've gone to a concert? When is the last time you've gone to a play? When is the last time you've played ball? I make it a point. Anybody that's connected to me that's in a ministerial position, I'm about my boys. Because I've seen the weight that they carry, it gets overlooked because people are just constantly demanding things of them.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with my cousin last night. She's a first lady. And I was like, yo, like, you gotta be you no matter what. Like, I just gave it to her straight and raw. Like, don't feel like you gotta appease them, because you gotta go home with you.
I like that. I like that. I was talking to a patient the other day about me time and quality time. She has 3 little boys. She's married. She said, do you know what was the highlight of her day, Micah?
What's that?
Taking a shower. That was the highlight of her day. She said, I get my hair done once a month. It is a stigma that men don't stress out and they don't need mental breaks. Men need me time. They need their personal time. Teresa, you are correct. And so the highlight of, I enjoy the Sabbath. I take Saturdays, I go to church, and then I go to, some friends home for dinner, and I'm able to laugh and smile and enjoy and just be me, take my shoes off and just put my footies on and be me. And it's really very relaxing and loving and kind. So you have to take that time for yourself, because like a lot of people, Dr. Logan is feeding people all day, every day, from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night, doing therapy sessions, and then at the end of the day, I'm exhausted emotionally, mentally, psychologically, and I got to turn around and do it the next day. So when I'm able to get my me time, you better believe I'm going to a concert. I'm going to a play. I'm going to, do something special for myself. I'm going to go visit my daughters in Los Angeles. And someone just text me, Micha and Aaron are doing well, finding their way, navigating in their new path in Los Angeles. And I'm so happy that I was able to hear the voices of my children. I want to talk about now, feeling the burdens of others, but what happens? A person with a terminal illness. Micha, when Daddy got sick, we were there. We rallied around him.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want him at any time to feel like he was a burden. But a lot of people who have chronic pain or terminal illness can also feel like a burden to others, as it becomes harder and harder to ask for yet another ride to the doctor's office, or more help with household duties, or assistance paying for hospital bills. In fact, many people who decide to commit suicide often state that their loved ones or the world as general would be better off without them. Let me say this: no one is better off without you. We love you. You are loved, and God will determine that time. This type of rhetoric is a common warning sign of suicide. People often see themselves as a burden to others or feel worthless due to the overwhelming emotional burden they are carrying within themselves. Social isolation. Now, this is really important. A person can become socially isolated for many reasons, including losing friends or a spouse. And that's why I appreciate you, ML6. You will call me every day. You did not want me to, be in this home alone. You make sure I'm okay. Mom, did you eat? You need somebody to check on you. Undergoing a separation or divorce, physical or mental illness, social anxiety, retirement, or due to a move to a new location. Social isolation can also be caused by internal factors such as low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
This can lead to loneliness and other risk factors of suicide, such as depression and alcohol or drug misuse. Let's talk about the impact of low self-esteem in people, Micha. And being women and men being themselves. Like you said, you told our relative, you be you. But that self-esteem is impacting people.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that.
I think, self-esteem is a very they're two heavy words. And oftentimes, and because of social media, self-esteem is really like, it looks different. Do you understand what I'm saying? Self-esteem is viewed through the eyes of people's highlight reels on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You get on, like, there are a few people that'll give you the remedy of what it looks like before they put the makeup on. There's a few people that give you that as soon as I wake up, this is what I look like. You know what I'm saying? It's very few and far between. And most times, a lot of people aren't really looking at those people that are like, because sometimes those people are like too real. And they're like, yo, that's just too realistic. So they over here. And so you have people feeling like they have to get the BBLs and they gotta get, all this stuff and to look like what they see. And they don't even understand, like, yo, that's a post. That's a post.
Mm-hmm.
That's not their real life. You don't know what they were dealing with before they put that picture up. You don't even know if that's an old picture.
Right.
It may be real time for you, but currently they're in bed under the covers, eyes swollen because they've been crying for 3 days. But they want to make it seem like to you that they're good, that their self-esteem is up. So you'll feel like, yo, if their self-esteem is good, my self-esteem got to be good too. And not acknowledge what's going on. One of the hardest things I had to do with dealing with my self-esteem is when I lost my hair, my eyebrows, and my eyelashes. You want to talk about really facing your reality? That was some real, this is the raw me. I really look like a cancer patient. Like, this is what they were talking about. When I lost my hair, cool. That was fine. When I lost my eyebrows and my eyelashes, mind you, I didn't have much to begin with, but what I had, I was like, oh, okay. But when they went, then when the eyebrows never grew back, and then it was like, you know what? I just got to embrace this.
Embrace.
Then I remember I went and got the microblading, but I didn't go back for my retouch. And so now I do like every a couple of days. But hear me when I say I am very comfortable not having eyebrows but I had to get there. I had to get there. And I had to be honest that I wasn't okay with not having them. I had to be honest with my circle. And then it made me be like, yo, like, but then when you hear, like, they look for people without eyebrows. Like, that's a thing. And you're like, really? And you're like, yeah, like when you tell a casting director, like, hey, if you need somebody to go bald or you need somebody that doesn't have eyebrows, I'm your girl. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't be able to embrace those opportunities if I wasn't embracing who I am. But I had to get there. There's a process to get there. I have had a horrible day today. Horrible. Like, just nothing went right that I needed to go right. Okay? But I knew I had to come on here and I literally just got out of the shower an hour ago. Like, I didn't meet certain deadlines. Record reps was annoying me. It was just a lot going on today. I just had a lot emotionally dealing with. Like, I'm literally about to be 40 in less than a month. And my life isn't necessarily where I want it to be. I haven't exactly accomplished every goal that I had set. For whatever reason, growing up, you felt like when you get to 40, you got to have all of this stuff. So that language has lasted longer than the language of, yo, you can give yourself grace even at 40. You don't have to have it all figured out even at 40. That language hasn't been around as long as, by the time you're 40, you're supposed to have this, you're supposed to have this, you're supposed to have this. You know? Am I weird that I don't want to be in a relationship? Am I weird that is there something wrong with me because I don't necessarily want children, like that I'm okay with my dog? Then I'm like, well, is there something wrong with me as to why I don't have a relationship? Well, I mean, I could have a relationship, but is that something I really want to do? So dealing with my personal as a woman is heavy. And then the day I said, yo, boy, every single day I wake up and realize why I'm single. But hear me, don't misunderstand me. I'm okay with it, but it's because of the pressures of the world when they see me and they're like, why you not married? Or when you gonna get married? Or when you gonna get your mama grandbaby in? Not understanding that there are personal career goals that I have.
That's right.
That for me, like I'm trying to take pressures in other areas away in other areas. Like that's my focus right now.
Right.
So that I can take one pressure off of something else and I can handle certain things and give that pressure a break. That's right. What's heavy on me right now as I approach this age. And if I'm not honest with myself, if I'm not honest with my circle, those thoughts can literally take you out because you're like, yo, like, forget it. Like, it'll just be easier if this happens.
Right.
If I didn't have constant conversation with my therapist, like, this is where I'm at. It's the self-esteem of it all. It's not just an appearance. It's mental self-esteem. It's emotional.
That's right.
Physical self-esteem, spiritual self-esteem. That's why I said it may be 2 words, but it carries so much weight.
It does. It does. And you know, it's and being your mother, but also being a psychologist, being a licensed professional counselor, I have to step out of those roles sometimes and be your mom to be able to listen, to hear, to be that support. And I thank God, let me say this, I thank God every day that I am in a place where if my children need me, financially, that's fine. Spiritually, must. But I'm here to listen and be a support and a sounding board for them. It is important that my children are able to come to me. It's important that your children are able to come to your nieces, your nephews, your little cousins. Don't feel like you are alone. Find a safe place, a safe person that you can talk to. Find that good person. Some people are now Debbie Downers because they are not happy with their own inner self. They want other people to feel their pain. So true, Thomas. People thrive, and it goes back to misery loves company. People thrive on you being miserable. I want to go into cry for help. Sometimes people attempt suicide, not so much because they really want to die, but because they simply don't know how to get help. Suicide attempts are not a cry for attention, but a cry for help. It becomes a way to demonstrate to the world just how much they are hurting. Unfortunately, these cries for help may sometimes prove to be fatal if the person misjudges the lethal aspect of the chosen method. People who make a failed attempt are also a much higher risk of trying it again, and their second attempt are much likely to be lethal. I remember when Phyllis Hyman, I went to the play about Phyllis Hyman and the Whispers, was doing a play. Phyllis Hyman was, and you listen to Phyllis Hyman, you will be able to hear the pain in some of her songs, Um, and so in the play, she was doing a concert with the Whispers. And so she went back to her dressing room and she took some pills, hoping that someone would find her, a cry for help. But by the time they got to her, she was already gone. Her heart had stopped. Mm-hmm. So there were many signs in her songs, when she went through her divorces. You've got to keep a close eye on people in your life and be willing to let them talk. Don't interrupt them. Be willing to listen. And even if they say the same thing over and over again, don't remind them, oh, you told me that. Oh, we talked about that already. Let them talk. Let them get it out again and again and again until they find their healing. Be a true friend. Be a good friend. And then refer that person to a therapist, a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. But be willing to give really genuine support. If not, get out the way, because you're doing more damage than good if you're not there to give them that support. You may never know why a person committed suicide. Well, while it might have appeared that someone had everything to live for, it probably didn't feel like that way to them. The National Suicide Prevention Line is 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. I want to talk about the importance of.
Wait, before you say that, it's interesting when you said about listening, and this is a transparent moment between that my mother and I have. So like I'll call her sometimes and it's very few times that I'll call to just vent. Like that's not even like what I do for real. Like I really am a figure it out on my own type person. But when I do call her and she goes into immediate, like, let me see if I can fix her, I say, so are you going to listen or are you going to talk? Like, that's just like, if I'm calling you, Micha, Logan, if I'm calling you, like, I don't need you to psychoanalyze me. I just need you to listen. And I know that that's difficult for her sometimes because as my mom and because of what she does, that's what she, 18 hours out of the day, she's, helping people. And so I call, so she feels like she has to help me. And even growing up, there were just a lot of times where I felt like, I don't need your help. I just need you to listen. but I didn't know how to communicate that. So it
Mm.
would come out in other ways. And so as I got older, I understood, like I started to understand who I was as a person. I remember coming home and telling my parents, because I left home at the age of 15 for boarding school. And I remember I was 20 something years old. And I remember coming home and I said to them, I know that when I left, I was 15. And that's who you know the 15-year-old. But I'm 20 something now. You have an
Mm.
option to get to know who I am right now. And I had to communicate that to that instead of me holding it in, that they were still treating me like I was 15. And I'm like, yo, I'm 20 something years old. I've been living on my own. Like, what's happening here? And that's also a part of it. We got to learn to communicate. But with communication comes listening and comprehending.
Yes, yes,
You don't
yes.
always have to fix it. Just listen.
Just listen.
Being a good friend, a good family member, sometimes is you just listening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not everybody needs you to fix them all the time. They
And
don't
that's
need a word from the Lord all the time. If
mm,
they call
mm,
you, and that's one of the things I used to love about my Uncle Jim.
mm.
When I would bust through his office or call him, I could say it how I feel it, how I felt it, no matter what came out of my mouth. He would just let me be. And then after I was done, he would be like, "You good?" I'd be
Good.
like, "Yup." He'd be like, "You want to go to the snack bar?" I'd be like, "Yup."
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But it was just like, he was my safe place. My dad, I could call my dad and be like, da 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 da. I mean, anything that came out of my mouth, he wouldn't stop me. He wouldn't tell me we don't talk like that. He wouldn't say, Micah, you weren't racist, not say that word. He would just let me talk. And then he would ask me this question. He would say, do you want to hear from me or you just need my ear? And I would be like, okay, you could talk. He was a very good voice of reason.
Yeah, he was. He was a
He could
very
he
good
could
voice.
bring me down and he could really give me a different perspective.
Right,
And
right.
then he would do the same for me. He would call me and he would just be going clean off. And I would be like, all right, Dad, let's go. What you saying, Daddy? What you saying?
They
Like,
talked about me. Did he talk about me? No.
so, but he knew he could call me and say it how he felt it. And I wouldn't dishonor him as my father.
Mhm.
Just because he may have used certain words or said certain things, he knew he could trust me and I would not dishonor his position as my father.
Mhm.
I didn't treat him like he was one of my little friends.
No,
Even though
no.
we had a great relationship,
Right.
I didn't treat him like I honored and respect him as my father. Even though we did have homie like talks. So I say all that to say, sometimes it is okay to just listen.
Just listen.
Just
Very
listen.
good.
That can go a long way.
Yes, just
That could
listen.
literally be what saves somebody, because they could be calling you to vent and
To
you
that.
out here thinking that you're doing them a service by saving them. And
Mm.
what you're doing is you're helping them jump off the ledge because their problem is nobody's listening to them.
You know, about 30 years ago, a lady walked in my office because you're 39. So yeah, it's about you're about 10, 11.
Uh-huh.
And she said, you will make, I was doing I think I was doing another degree, but she said you would be a great therapist if you learned to listen. Because I always was giving advice.
Hmm.
So now when my couples or individuals come in, um, I I listen. I said, tell me your story. I believe I'm getting better with you and Aaron. I just want to listen. You gonna listen, Mom? Yeah, you do that. You gonna listen? You know, and Daddy taught me the importance of just listening. People need people, people. I need somebody just to listen to me and let me just get it all out, because sometimes it's heavy what I'm dealing with every day. I found out today one of a good friend of mine was indicted, you know, and I didn't know. And it just weighed, it's still weighing heavy on my heart,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what do I do? So all I can do is be there to listen and be a support. I
That's
want
judgment.
that judgment is not
Uh,
there. Something happened.
to all the saints in the room.
Come on, saints. Talk to the
Let me
saints.
tell you something, saints.
Saints.
Fall back.
Yeah.
Fall back. Not everything needs a word of the Lord. That judgmental, That judgmental chip that be on your shoulder sometimes, let it fall.
Mm-hmm.
Let it fall.
Right.
You
Someone
get
told me the
feel
other
a
day.
certain way when you're like, well, I don't understand why such and such didn't come talk to me, and I don't understand why. Also, please take into consideration, if you all you do is sitting around all day and talking about such and such, another such and such is not gonna come and talk to you about what's going on with them. Just putting that out there.
Right. They're not gonna come back.
They're not gonna come back to you.
They're not gonna come back. There's no
Talking about
trust.
such and such, another such and such who seen you talk about such and such is not gonna come to
They're
you.
not coming back to you. No, they're
Also,
not.
listen, don't sit here and ask people, well, what's going on with you? How can I pray for you? Because let me tell you something. Everybody that asks to pray for you does not have your best interest at heart.
That's
They're
right.
really trying to find out your business.
That's right. Get in your business. Say
When
it.
you are in a good headspace, ask for discernment for who the Lord is letting you have a conversation with. I have several friends right now that are just in a quiet place.
Yeah.
They call me and they let me know, hey, I'm being quiet right now. I need to just sit and rest. Now, during that quiet time, I know that they're going to go through some mental and emotional battles. My responsibility is, one, to check in and not be offended if they don't reply back. Two, to keep them lifted because they trusted me by telling me that they're in a quiet place. I don't take it for granted when my friends can trust me with their low points.
Can't take it
A
for
lot of
granted.
times people are not talking to you because they don't trust you with their low points.
Right. And that you will not judge them, that you won't judge them.
Are you a person that can be trusted with low points?
And then if I trust you, when do I start hearing about what I've done, or judging me? So I want to say this. We got another comment. Let's read our comment, before we leave the air. All right. Not being able to see past soul exhaustion, which I've seen can be due to trauma, chemical imbalance, and even spiritual abuse can at times. Most people don't choose to be blind. In fact, suicide is traumatic moment suicide. In fact, suicide in traumatic moments is almost in the mind a mercy to everyone. I've lost too many people. This question is deep to me. I try to be compassionate even when the decision seems selfish or I think prayer would have fixed it. Yeah, never know. You never know. Mercy. Thank you from the Tosin family. Mercy. What are your thoughts about the impact of suicide? What are your thoughts right now? Share with us here on Live to Be Well. I want to talk about we've talked about the causes. We've talked about symptoms. We want to talk about prevention. Some of the things in order to prevent suicide, you have to ask for help. If you see someone going through something and you see the signs of isolation, depression, you see the abandonment, rejection, they've gone through a divorce, they lost a spouse, you need to make sure that you are nurturing and patient with this person. I remember, Michael, when Uncle Jim died, someone came up to me and said, you still crying over your brother-in-law? And we had just buried him a week ago. And I was devastated. If I had not been a child of God and I wasn't standing in church, I would have laid them out. All right. And then it says here that, again, going back, being in the moment, people need to understand in that moment, I may not even understand what I'm dealing with, but just listen. All right. Be nurturing. Don't be toxic for me. Don't be toxic. Don't talk at me. Talk with me. Be open and talk. Let me talk straight how I feel. Another thing we need to look at is perception. Your perception of how I feel may not be my perception of how I feel. Communicating, how I communicate in a situation. Don't shut me down because you don't agree with me. Let me get it out. Don't, your happiness may not be my happiness, or, I wanted listen, I'm going to tell you the truth. I felt a lot safer with my girls in Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted them to stay there forever. It's just a nice little community. But Micha the Lord said, I'm moving you. She had outgrown it. 20 years there. And then Aaron was going to school. And I said, well, I better pack my bags because I'm moving to LA. All right. And God worked it out. Feeling overwhelmed. If you see people feeling overwhelmed, that is a serious symptom of anxiety and depression. I'm taking off more people off work because of stress, working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and people are not being sympathetic to these people working all these hours.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to be comfortable and be transparent with yourself, being able to understand you. Stop worrying about what other people think of you. Stop don't worry about where you are at your time in your life, and what's going on in your life. Just live your life to the best of your ability. Live your life to the best of your ability. Well, ML6, it's time to wrap it up. It's 10:13. We have a lot. I had a lot more. We may have to bring it back next week or the week after.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give your closing remarks? I think we covered it quite a bit. And we want to remember Regina King and others who've lost
I
loved ones to
want
suicide.
to just give yourself the same grace that you. It's twofold. Give yourself the same grace that you strive to give others, and give others the same grace that you want to have from others.
Yeah.
Be honest with your emotions. Find a safe space. I promise you. People be like, I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. I'm all alone. I'm all alone. I promise you, there is somebody
Mhm.
who is there for you. But it could be a stranger.
Mhm.
Find that person.
Mhm.
It's okay to reach out. But before you do anything, before you make any moves, put the number up there again for the prevention hotline. There's psychology.com. If you don't feel, if you there's so many other things. You are valuable, you are worthy, you are needed, you are loved, you are desired, you are beautiful, you are healthy, you are whole. Affirm yourself every morning.
Mhm.
Even if you don't see it, say it till you believe it. And I promise it will come to pass.
That's beautiful, ML6. I want to say, too, that even when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he cried out to the disciples, can someone just stay awake for me? Can you stay awake with me? Jesus was going through depression, anxiety, stress. He didn't want to die on Calvary if this cup could pass, but he had to pay the price for our sins. I can't even imagine what Jesus must have gone through in that garden.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been lonely. I've been sad. I've cried myself to sleep for many, 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 many months. I couldn't even sleep in my master bedroom. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I could not even go in that room.
Yeah.
Micah, do you know this past week, I wore the dress for the first time in 6 years, 5 years that I wore to Daddy's funeral.
Oh, I burned mine.
You burned your dress?
Yes.
Um, okay, I didn't know that, honey.
Yeah.
I pulled the dress out and I walked past it. But I couldn't wear it for years because I gained so much weight and then I lost weight and it's too big on me now. But now it's a dress. It's a dress. It's a beautiful dress because I came full circle about it. I came to terms about it.
That's good.
That's a part of my healing,
Mm-hmm.
and my growth. Let me say this. I know prayer works. I know the word of God is powerful. But I do know that there are people in my life and people that come to me that say, Dr. Kim, right now I don't want the word of God. I just want someone to listen. I don't want to pray because why would God put me through all of this? Dr. Kim, I need psychological impact. I need you to help me get through this. What can I do? Do you know, Mike, I have a little girl, she's 16, and she's in a Zumba class. I suggested a Zumba class to her mother. She's not having suicide ideation anymore. She's drinking water. And Micah, look at my big bottles now. Here they go. Big bottles,
I'm
okay?
not sure I should be rewarding you for things you should already be doing, though, but we're here.
I know. We did, yeah, right. That's true, too. That's true. But I just want to reward me. Give me a little something, something. So I just want to say this, that suicide is real. Embrace yourself, love yourself, give yourself affirmations, pray, read the word of God, do whatever helps you. But do not self-medicate with gambling, alcohol, drug, and substance abuse. Do not take your anger and rage out on another human being. If you need help, and Dr. Kim can refer you also, just reach out to me and I will help you find a good therapist in your city or state. I will help you. You are not alone and you are not forgotten, and God has not forsaken you. I want you to know that the only way you can live to be well, you must live to be well. I'm Dr. Kim Logan-Nowlin.
And I'm Micha, ML6 Logan.
We want to thank you for being with us. And remember, your life is worth living. God bless and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Live to be well with Dr. Kim.